Chosen one, listen closely. Heaven has pressed pause over your life tonight. The air itself has shifted. You can feel it, something unseen moving quietly, rearranging what seemed unchangeable. God's gaze has found your house. It is not a coincidence that you are hearing these words right now. This is a divine interruption. Everything around you has slowed because heaven wants your attention. You have felt overlooked, as if your prayers hung unanswered in the air. You have watched others receive while you waited in silence. But tonight, the silence breaks. The Father whispers, "Your waiting was never wasted. Every tear, every lonely night, every moment you wondered if He still saw you. All of it has been gathered into His hands. Now the atmosphere above your home trembles with expectancy. You may not see the angels that have gathered, but their presence is thick around you. They are leaning in, awaiting the command that will set your miracle in motion. The same God who spoke galaxies into being has fixed His eyes upon your address. The coordinates of your heart have been written in the language of light. Nothing about this is random. Heaven is deliberate, intentional, precise. As the ancient words remind us in the second book of Chronicles, chapter 16, verse 9. For the eyes of the Lord roam through all the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are devoted. Yeah, His eyes have found you. You have not been forgotten in the crowd. You are not one among millions, you are one among the chosen. Your home glows in the spirit realm with a brightness that darkness cannot approach. The mark of divine attention rests upon your walls. You are standing at the threshold of something supernatural. Pause for a moment. Look around the very room you are in. The ordinary furniture, the quiet corners, the dim light. Everything is about to witness a visitation. God is not sending a symbolic word. He is sending His presence. That is why your heart is racing even as you read this. The Spirit of the living God is confirming that this message is for you. There has been warfare over this house. The enemy tried to plant fear, confusion, and fatigue within these walls. He wanted to make your home a battleground of frustration and delay. But the Lord says tonight, no more. What was once a place of tension will become a sanctuary of peace. Where arguments once echoed, worship will now rise. Where heaviness once lingered, laughter will dwell again. Chosen one, understand this truth. Heaven never wastes movement. When God marks a house, He marks a destiny. This visitation is not only about your comfort, it is about your calling. The miracle that will unfold here will ripple into the generations after you. You are the doorway through which divine favor will enter your bloodline. Every spiritual season begins with an awareness moment. This is yours. You are being awakened to your assignment. Your obedience tonight determines the climate of your tomorrow. When you choose faith over fear, heaven takes notice. When you choose praise over panic, angels move. When you decide to stand still and trust, the miracle begins its descent. There is a stirring in the spirit. Can you feel it? That weight on your chest is lifting. That fog in your mind is clearing. Even now, the Holy Spirit is breathing over your thoughts, silencing the lies that told you it was too late. It is not too late. In fact, this is the moment creation has been waiting for, to see you rise, to see your faith ignite, to see your light pierce the darkness. You are a carrier of divine presence. That is why you have been attacked so fiercely, because the enemy fears what will happen when you realize who you are. But tonight, realization is dawning. The mark of heaven is recognition. You are recognized by God, by angels, by destiny itself. You carry royal DNA, so lift your head. Chosen one, stand in the center of your home and declare it aloud. My house belongs to the Lord. My home is marked for miracles. Speak it until every shadow retreats. Speak it until peace fills every room. There is power in your words because they echo the word that formed worlds. This moment is sacred. Before the night ends, take a breath and acknowledge that God has entered your space. Feel His peace wrapping around you like a warm mantle. The same Spirit that hovered over the waters in the beginning is hovering now, over your living room, your kitchen, your bedroom. Something holy has begun. If this word has stirred something inside you, if you sense the truth of it burning in your spirit, then respond in faith. Do not let the moment pass silently. Tap the heart. Share this message so it can reach another chosen one, and subscribe so you remain aligned with what heaven is releasing in this season. Then, in the comments, write the prophetic number 777, the number of divine completion, declaring, "My home is marked for a miracle tonight." You sense something different tonight, don't you? It's as if your spirit already knows something holy hovers just beyond sight. The air feels charged, the silence carries weight, and deep inside you can almost hear the whisper you've been marked. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but in the unseen realm, your home bears a sacred seal. Heaven has placed its signature over your doorway. Long before this moment, God had already written your address into the script of His divine plan. Before the foundation of the world, He foresaw every tear you would shed, every battle you would fight, and every prayer you would whisper when no one else was listening. He chose your house as a place of visitation. He has marked it, not with ink or stone, but with something eternal, the covering of His covenant blood. The ancient Exodus story is more than history. It is prophecy still alive. That night, the children of Israel brushed lamb's blood on their doorposts, not realizing they were painting a symbol of salvation that would echo for generations. They followed an instruction that made no logical sense, yet heaven responded to obedience. As death passed through the land, the marked houses stood untouched. The power was not in the wood of the door, but in the sign of divine recognition. The voice of God thundered once again through that same truth for you tonight. The Spirit whispers, "I have placed a mark upon your threshold." Every time the enemy tried to cross, he was met by a barrier not made of human strength but of holy authority. You have been wondering why you survived what should have destroyed you. This is why. You have been covered. You have been claimed. The voice of heaven speaks clearly through the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 13. "The blood will be a sign for you on your houses. I will see it and pass over." This is not superstition, it is spiritual reality. The enemy recognizes what many people cannot. When he looks at your home, he sees aglow a boundary line drawn by divine authority. He knows he cannot enter where God has claimed territory. That is why the attacks have often come from distraction, confusion, or weariness rather than direct destruction. He has tried to make you forget who you are and whose you are. But tonight, the Lord reminds you again you are not unprotected. You are not alone in your house. Even when you step outside, the covering follows. Because the mark is not just on the walls, it rests on your spirit. You are a living doorway of God's presence. Where you go, the atmosphere changes. Where you stand, ground becomes sacred. Think back on the moments when danger was near but somehow passed you by. The near accident that never happened. The sickness that suddenly turned around. The loss that didn't break you. Those weren't coincidences. They were the shadow of divine mercy moving through your life. Your home carries memories. Yes, but it also carries assignments. Each room holds prayers that have not expired, promises that have not been forgotten. The walls have heard your cries. but they've also absorbed your declarations of faith. God does not overlook these things. The mark on your door is not just protection, it's recognition. Heaven sees this place as a site of destiny, and beloved, even now, light is stretching across your threshold. The angels that guard your dwelling are not passive. They are standing watch, enforcing the seal that God Himself has set. Nothing unclean, nothing unholy, nothing that does not belong to your purpose will cross that line. You may still feel the echo of battles past, but the blood still speaks louder. Remember this: the mark was never meant to make you proud. It was meant to make you aware. Awareness leads to reverence, and reverence invites glory. When you understand that your home is a sanctuary, you begin to treat it as such. You speak differently within its walls. You pray differently in its corners. You invite heaven with every word of gratitude that leaves your lips. There is a fragrance rising from your home tonight, the scent of redemption, of mercy renewed, of faith being rekindled. And as that fragrance ascends, heaven answers. Doors that were once closed begin to creak open. Peace that once felt distant starts to settle. The presence that once felt fleeting now lingers. So rest, chosen one. You are safe beneath the seal. You are not merely living in a house, you are dwelling under a covenant. The mark upon your door is a promise that whatever passes through this street will recognize divine ownership. The night cannot claim what the light has marked. There is movement tonight, subtle, quiet, yet unmistakable. The air in your home feels alive, as if it's listening. You may have thought you were alone in this room, but you are not. Heaven's messengers have stepped across the threshold. They do not enter with fanfare or lightning, but with purpose and obedience. You have prayed, you have waited, and now the response arrives not in noise, but in presence. Angels are not myths wrapped in old stories, they are divine agents still moving among us. When heaven sends help, it often wears the wings of the unseen. You may have felt a sudden calm when anxiety tried to overtake you. You may have heard a thought of peace interrupting panic. You may have sensed safety in a moment that should have broken you. Those were not coincidences. Those were guardians at work. As the Spirit spoke through the psalmist in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11. For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. That promise is not confined to ancient parchment. It is alive, breathing over you even now. Every corner of your home is being touched by invisible hands rearranging what was chaotic. Angels are taking their stations, one near the window where fear used to watch, one by the door that once carried bad news, one in the hallway where you've paced in prayer. They stand as divine sentinels, surrounding your peace like a fortress. You may wonder, why would heaven send them here? Because heaven responds to faith. Because your prayers have weight. You have whispered words into the night that others would have dismissed. But the Father heard every syllable. Angels were dispatched the moment you believed, but often they arrive quietly, waiting for your awareness to align with their assignment. Some of the resistance you felt lately was not delay, it was warfare. The enemy knew reinforcement was coming, and he tried to distract you before it arrived. He stirred confusion, frustration, fatigue, hoping you'd give up. But you didn't. You pressed through. And now, the atmosphere has changed because heaven honors endurance. Angels do not come merely to comfort, they come to act. They carry messages, open paths, silence threats, and usher in divine order. The very fact that you are reading these words means you have entered a moment of divine cooperation, you on earth agreeing with what heaven is releasing. When faith and obedience meet, Angels move faster. Beloved, understand this: you are not fighting alone. You never were. When tears fell and you thought nobody noticed, they did. When you stood in your living room praying for your family, they stood with you. You are surrounded by a celestial army trained for your protection. They are not sentimental beings, they are warriors who answer only to the voice of God. Perhaps lately you have felt pressure, spiritual heaviness, strange exhaustion, or waves of discouragement. That is often the sign that angels are shifting positions, clearing out what does not belong. Before a home feels lighter, it must first feel stirred. The shaking you sense is not chaos, it's cleansing. Heaven is rearranging the unseen to make room for peace. And there is one thing you must do in this moment: acknowledge them. Speak aloud your gratitude to the Father for sending His messengers. Say, Lord, thank you for commanding angels over my home. When you speak it, the unseen world responds. They do not obey your command, they respond to your agreement with God's word. So breathe, rest your heart, let faith replace fear. The same presence that filled the shepherd's field when angels announced peace now fills your own dwelling. It is not imagination, it is fulfillment. You prayed for safety, for direction, for clarity. Heaven answered by sending company. The angels assigned to you tonight do not visit briefly. They are establishing a perimeter that darkness cannot cross. From this night forward, there will be a shift. Nightmares will fade. Fear will lose its grip. Unexpected favor will begin to appear because peace is fertile ground for miracles. And when you feel stillness settling over your home, know that it is more than quiet, it is the sound of heaven standing guard. Now, chosen one, if your heart senses this truth, take a moment to seal it in faith. In the comments below, write the simple phrase, "I am covered." Do not underestimate what those 3 words mean. It is not a ritual, it is a declaration. When you type those words, you are aligning your faith with what God has already done. You are saying, I believe heaven is here. I accept divine protection. I receive peace as my portion. And as your fingers move, angels move with them, recording your confession as testimony before the throne. The covering over your home is not temporary. It is covenant. It is divine. And tonight, it stands stronger than ever. Something is happening in the unseen tonight. A confrontation is taking place, not of flesh and blood, but of spirit and authority. For too long, darkness thought it had permission to linger around your home, whispering discouragement, sowing doubt, stirring unrest. But heaven has issued a new decree. The enemy's lease is over. His presence here is no longer tolerated. The eviction notice has been signed by divine authority and sealed in the blood of Christ. You have felt it before, those nights when the atmosphere felt heavy, when arguments rose out of nowhere, when exhaustion crept in without reason. Those were not random moods. They were intrusions. Spiritual trespassers trying to claim what does not belong to them. But tonight, a heavenly court has spoken. The verdict is final. Your house belongs to the Lord. Every shadow that has tried to hide within these walls is now exposed under holy light. It begins quietly, like a breath before a storm. The Holy Spirit moves through every corner, uncovering what was buried, old fears, silent wounds, generational weights. All of them are being brought into the open, because what is revealed can be healed. Light does not argue with darkness, it simply shines, and darkness flees. The ancient words still ring with power through the letter of James, chapter 4, verse 7. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. That command is not a suggestion, it is a spiritual law. Resistance is not shouting or striving, it is standing. You resist by refusing to agree with lies, You resist by worshiping when worry demands your attention. You resist by forgiving when bitterness begs to stay. Every act of obedience becomes a declaration that darkness has no dominion here. You might not realize it, but each time you choose peace over panic, you are pushing back against the kingdom of chaos. Every whispered prayer, every moment you turned away from despair was a strike against the enemy's hold. You have already been fighting, chosen one perhaps without even knowing it, and heaven has been recording every moment of your endurance. Now the shift begins. The atmosphere that once carried tension begins to tremble under divine order. Imagine it, the enemy pacing outside the threshold, realizing his influence has expired. He cannot re-enter what has been reclaimed. The mark of God's ownership now glows brighter than ever before. The very walls seem to hum with unseen praise as peace begins to settle again. But take note, eviction is not only removal, it is replacement. When God clears darkness, he fills the space with his glory. Empty rooms do not stay empty long. They either echo with old noise or resonate with new worship. Tonight, the Spirit invites you to let your home echo with his presence. Let music of faith replace murmurs of fear. Let prayer fill the corners where silence once ruled. Let laughter and joy become your new spiritual weapons. This moment is not about fear, it's about freedom. You are witnessing the dismantling of old strongholds. Things that once triggered anxiety will lose their power. The heaviness that used to sit on your chest when you walked through certain doors will be gone. God is reclaiming not just the space around you, but the atmosphere within you. You see, deliverance does not always come as a shout. It often begins as a whisper that says, "Enough." Heaven has spoken that word over your house tonight. The angelic guard that took position earlier now enforces that verdict. They carry authority from the throne itself, and no force of darkness dares to resist. There may still be a faint echo of fear trying to return, a familiar pattern whispering, "What if nothing changes?" But that voice is powerless now. It's like smoke after a fire, visible but harmless. The true flame belongs to the Spirit within you, and that flame is unquenchable. Beloved, take this as confirmation: what once oppressed you is losing its grip. The cycle of sleepless nights, the sudden heaviness without cause, the arguments that seem to appear from thin air, they are breaking. The eviction notice has been served, and the enemy cannot appeal it. As peace re-enters, you may feel tears rise unexpectedly. Let them. They are not tears of fear, but of release. You are not fighting anymore. You are standing in victory. The Lord himself surrounds your home like a wall of fire. His glory rests in the center, guarding, cleansing, restoring. Remember this night. Remember how it felt when the weight lifted, when the unseen battle shifted in your favor. Because from this night forward, you will walk differently through your own doorways, not as a tenant of trouble, but as an heir of authority. The light that has filled your home will continue to grow, and every time you sense peace settling over your shoulders, know this: it is a reminder of who truly reigns here. There is a wind moving through your house tonight. You may not feel it on your skin, yet your spirit knows it's there. Curtains stir without reason. Hearts beat a little faster. And somewhere deep inside you recognize this breeze. It's not from the window, it's from heaven. This is the whisper of promise, the breath of the Holy Spirit sweeping through the air that once carried worry and weariness. It is cleansing, refreshing, awakening. This wind does not destroy, it restores. It moves like spring over winter's ashes, reminding the earth that life still exists beneath the surface. So it is with you. Beloved, for a long season you've walked beneath clouds of delay. You've carried hopes that seemed too heavy to lift again. But tonight, The wind of promise has returned. It is heaven's way of saying, I have not forgotten you. Sometimes, before God announces a miracle, He sends a wind, not a storm, not a voice, just a subtle shift, voice. You feel lighter, more aware, almost as if something inside you is breathing again after a long silence. That is the Spirit doing what only He can do, stirring faith where disappointment once sat, according to what is written in the Gospel of John, chapter 3, verse 8. The wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. This verse is not about weather, it's about wonder. The Spirit of God moves in ways beyond prediction, yet always with purpose. You cannot chart the path of divine wind, but you can open your windows to it. You can say, Lord, let your breath fill this space again. The sound of that breath is soft yet mighty. It carries memories of ancient gardens, of dry bones rising, of upper rooms where tongues of fire appeared. Each movement of air carries a message. The cycle is ending, the stagnation, the waiting, the seasons where nothing seemed to bloom, those were the silent winters of preparation. But winter never holds the final word. Now, you stand in the doorway of renewal. The same Spirit that hovered over the waters in Genesis is hovering over your life tonight. Every broken place is being touched by the freshness of His presence. You are inhaling hope again and exhaling fear. Beloved, when the Spirit moves, respond. Do not rush through this sacred stillness. Let the wind speak to you. It might remind you of promises you've forgotten or dreams you buried because they seemed too impossible. Listen closely, you may hear your name carried upon it, reminding you that what was once delayed is now being delivered. Some of you will notice the atmosphere changing in your home after tonight. Arguments will lose their power to escalate. Rest will return to restless hearts. Joy will come back uninvited. That's how divine wind works. It doesn't ask permission. It restores by authority. And when you sense this peace flowing through your space, remember, it's not a random comfort. It's the signature of the Holy Spirit confirming that the season of reversal has begun. The same places where you cried will soon echo with laughter. The same prayers that felt unanswered are now unfolding quietly, perfectly, like dawn breaking through fog. Let the imagery sink in your home. Once heavy like a sealed room, now breathes again. The windows of your soul are open. You are standing in a sacred draft of destiny. Breathe deeply. This air is holy. Now, chosen one, if this word has reached the depths of your heart, take a moment to respond, not out of ritual but out of gratitude. When we receive divine wind, it's right to let it move through us and beyond us. That's how the flow continues. Just as rivers must pour into others to remain alive, what you receive tonight becomes even more powerful when you share it. If this message has spoken to you, gently lift your voice of agreement in a simple act of faith. Click like, not as a gesture to me, but as a symbolic amen to what heaven is doing. Share this message so that the same wind can pass through another home that needs it. And if you haven't yet, subscribe so that you remain connected to the stream of words heaven continues to pour through this space. And to those who feel led, consider sowing a seed, even a small one, into the work that keeps these messages alive, not as payment, but as participation. Every seed becomes a leaf in the tree that shelters others. When you give, you're saying, I believe this wind should reach more homes. Think of it like tending a flame. One breath can make a candle flicker. Many breaths together can make it blaze. Every act of support, whether a share, a like, a prayer, or a donation, adds oxygen to the fire of faith we are building together. Let the Holy Spirit guide your response. Let gratitude become your worship tonight. Because this wind, this moment, this message, it isn't just for you. It's flowing through you for countless others who still wait for their first breeze of hope. And as you rest tonight, you'll feel it, the gentle rhythm of air that is not from this world, brushing over your heart like the whisper of a promise fulfilled. The night deepens, and yet the air feels brighter than before. You can sense something shifting not outside, but within. This is the hour of divine reversal, the holy turning point where the story begins to change direction. The same tears that once watered sorrow will now become rivers of joy. The very moments that once broke you are now being rewritten into testimonies of breakthrough. Heaven is meticulous in timing. God never moves too early or too late. He moves when your spirit is ready to perceive the miracle He has already released. For some time, you have walked through what felt like endless waiting. You have asked, when will things finally change? And heaven answers tonight. Now the patterns that once repeated pain are being interrupted. The chains that linked you to old disappointments are snapping, one by one. This is not wishful thinking. It is spiritual law being enforced by the Word. Your timeline is being rewritten under divine authority. What once stood still begins to move. What was denied is now released. We are reminded through the writings of David in the book of Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 5, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." You have endured that night. You have cried until there were no more tears. You have prayed until your words felt hollow. Yet heaven saw every moment. Not a single tear has fallen unnoticed. Each one was a seed planted in unseen soil. And tonight the harvest begins. This is the night of reversal, the moment when what was lost begins to return, multiplied. The enemy thought he had written your ending, but God is reclaiming the pen. The rejected are being restored. The forgotten are being found. The weary are being renewed. And your home, marked by the blood of the Lamb, becomes the stage for this divine exchange. Beloved, think of how a tide moves. It withdraws for a moment only to gather greater strength for its return. So it has been in your life. When certain things seem to leave relationships, opportunities, even peace, it was not loss, but gathering. The tide of favor had pulled back only to come roaring back with more force, more purpose, more promise. And tonight, that tide is turning in your favor. You will notice the signs: sudden peace in places that once stirred anxiety, unexpected messages of reconciliation, doors opening without you knocking. These are not random. They are confirmations that the divine reversal has begun. The Father is restoring what was stolen and healing what was hidden. In your heart, there's a stirring you can't quite explain, a mixture of relief, awe, and holy anticipation. That is your spirit recognizing the shift. Heaven has declared it, and earth must now align. Every delay that once stood like a wall before you is being dissolved. What was meant to trap you will now transport you. Sometimes, divine reversal happens quietly. A conversation changes tone. A thought suddenly brings peace. A person you had written off reaches out with kindness. Do not overlook these small signs. They are the first ripples of a wave far greater than you imagine. Chosen one, hear this clearly. The night is not punishment, it is process. God allows endings so that true beginnings can emerge purified, unshaken, and undeniable. You are stepping into one of those beginnings right now. The struggle, the confusion, the unanswered why, they are all giving way to clarity. The miracle taking shape in your home tonight will not only restore what was lost, but will redeem the time you thought wasted. The years that seemed stolen are being compressed into acceleration. The Lord is not just giving you back what you lost, He is adding interest, abundance, overflow. Your reversal is not fragile. It will not vanish by morning. It is rooted in promise, and promises from God cannot die. You may still hear echoes of fear whispering. It's too good to be true, but that is only the residue of an old season trying to survive in a new one. The truth is simple, the curse is broken, the night is ending, and joy is coming. Let your heart believe it, let your mouth agree with it. Say aloud where you are, this is my night of reversal. When you speak it, heaven records it. Angels begin to enforce it. Your atmosphere shifts to reflect it. And as this sacred moment settles in your spirit, take one prophetic step to mark it. In the comments below, write the number 444. That number symbolizes divine stability and angelic order, the sign that what God has started will stand firm, unshaken. When you type 444, you're declaring, I believe in the reversal. I agree with heaven's order. My joy is returning. It's not superstition, it's participation. You are putting faith into motion, aligning your words with the wind of restoration that now moves through your home. Tonight, the tide turns. The morning is already rising. And before long, you will look back on this very moment and whisper, that was the night everything changed. Your home is no longer ordinary. Something invisible yet undeniable has happened within its walls. What once felt like a shelter of routine has become a sanctuary of revelation. The divine has taken residence here, and whether it's through the stillness of prayer or the softness of a sigh, heaven now meets you in every corner. The Lord has not chosen grand temples or golden halls for this visitation. He has chosen your home, the simplicity of your living room, the chair where you often sit to think, the quiet hallway where you pause before sleep. All of these places have become altars. They have absorbed your whispered prayers, your tears of surrender, and your songs of hope. They now vibrate with the memory of faith. This is the mystery of sacred habitation. When God marks a place, that space becomes holy ground. You might have thought you were just surviving in your house, but heaven calls it a dwelling of encounter. Angels recognize it. Demons avoid it. The Spirit abides in it. The divine has found a resting place, and it bears your name. Heaven speaks clearly through the words written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 20. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I with them. That verse is not bound by walls or geography, it's bound by presence. The moment you invite God in, the atmosphere transforms. It's not the size of the crowd, but the sincerity of the heart that draws him. Whether you stand alone or with loved ones, when his name is spoken with faith, he appears. And when he appears, everything else must bow. Beloved, your home has become a thin place, a space where heaven and earth meet without resistance. The veil between the natural and the spiritual has grown transparent. Sometimes you'll feel it in the quiet moments when peace suddenly fills the air like a soft fragrance. Sometimes it will be in laughter shared with family, the kind that heals something unspoken. Sometimes it will be in silence, when all you can do is breathe and know that you are not breathing alone. This is what the Spirit has been preparing all along, not just a moment of miracle, but a habitation of presence. The miracle was never the final destination, it was the doorway. Once you stepped through it, you entered the deeper purpose, communion. God didn't just want to visit your house, he wanted to dwell here. Take a moment to look around. The ordinary now carries significance. That old table where you've eaten countless meals becomes a place of covenant. The couch where you once sat in worry now becomes a throne of worship. Even the walls seem to hum with a faint memory of gratitude. Everything around you has been redefined by divine occupancy. Do you see how God works? He turns simple places into sanctuaries. He transforms survival into sacredness. He redeems every inch of what you thought was wasted. You may have moved into this home for practical reasons, but heaven moved in for eternal ones. You thought it was a roof over your head. God saw it as an altar beneath His glory. And when the Lord claims a space, He fills it with His fragrance. Peace lingers longer. Hope feels tangible. Even time seems to move differently. The stress that once filled your mornings begins to dissolve. Conversations become gentler. Sleep becomes deeper. You may not even realize how much has changed until you suddenly notice that you're smiling without reason. That's what divine presence does. It softens, it steadies, it sanctifies. This is not an invitation to perfection, but to awareness. God does not dwell in spotless mansions. He dwells in surrendered hearts. Your home need not be grand, it only needs to be yielded. When you choose to honor His presence with gratitude, even small acts become holy rituals. Lighting a candle can become worship. Sharing a meal can become communion. Sitting quietly can become prayer. Beloved, understand this truth: your home is not just where you live, it is where heaven touches earth through you. The altar is not built with stones, but with surrender. Every time you choose faith over fear, forgiveness over bitterness, or love over pride, you lay another stone on that invisible altar. The divine presence that now fills your house is not fleeting. It has come to stay. God has chosen this place because you have chosen Him. And from this sacred dwelling, blessings will flow outward to your neighborhood, your friends, your family, and your home has become a lighthouse, a spiritual beacon signaling to others that the presence of the living God still rests among His people. So tonight, when you close your eyes, remember this: you are not merely sleeping under a roof. You are resting beneath divine wings. You are surrounded by glory disguised as stillness. And your home, humble, simple, beautiful, is now an altar where heaven itself delights to dwell. There are moments when silence carries more power than thunder. Tonight is one of those moments. The air feels tender, charged with something unseen yet deeply familiar. You've cried enough tears to fill a river. Yet tonight, heaven reaches into that river and turns it into a source of strength. Every drop that once represented sorrow has become oil sacred, refined through pain, and ready to ignite the miracle that has been forming quietly behind the scenes. Your tears were never wasted, not a single one. You may have wiped them away quickly, embarrassed to be seen breaking down again. But the Father collected every tear as if it were a priceless jewel. In the kingdom, nothing shed in truth is ever lost. The heavens keep a record of tears because they are the purest form of prayer. Words can deceive, but tears never lie. They reveal the exact place where your heart met His. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 126, verse 5. Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. You didn't realize it then, but every tear you shed became a seed. Every lonely night, every whispered why. Lord, you were planting something in invisible soil, and heaven has been nurturing those seeds all along. The harvest is now ripening, and the first fruits are about to appear in your life. What was once sorrow will now sing. Your tears have power because they came from authenticity. God does not respond to polished prayers. He responds to honest hearts. He moves where pain has turned into surrender. Many people mistake tears for weakness, but in the Spirit, they are weapons. When the enemy sees you weep in the presence of God, he trembles, because he knows that every tear is a declaration that you still trust. Even when you don't understand, beloved, think of how rain works. Think of it falls, disappears into the soil, and for a time it seems like nothing has changed. But underground, life begins to stir. The roots absorb what was hidden, and in time, green shoots rise from what looked like lifeless dirt. So it is with your tears. They may have vanished from sight, but they were never wasted. They were nourishing something divine beneath the surface. Some of your tears were shed in silence, where no one but heaven could hear the sobs you stifled. Others fell in public moments of vulnerability when your strength broke. And yet, through every drop, the Spirit was speaking a language beyond words. Stay. Don't give up. Something is being born. There's a mystery in how heaven turns weeping into worship. When you cry and still choose to believe, you create a sound that moves the heart of God. It's not the loudness of your prayer, but the honesty of your surrender that shifts realities. You have done that, chosen one. Chosen. You've kept trusting when logic said stop, and now heaven honors that endurance. Every tear carried a message. Some said, I can't carry this anymore. Others said, I still believe you'll come through. But all of them carried the same essence, faith. Even in despair, you never truly let go. That is why breakthrough is inevitable. God cannot ignore faith wrapped in tears. It is the purest fragrance before His throne. Your weeping has done more than you think. It softened your heart. It stripped away pride, and it aligned you with divine timing. Before a miracle manifests, the heart must be ready to receive it, and tears prepare that soil. They cleanse the soul from bitterness and make room for gratitude to grow. So when the songs of joy begin to rise, and they will remember what they were born from. Remember that the laughter coming will carry the flavor of your tears. You'll find yourself smiling at moments that once made you cry, because you'll see now that God never abandoned you. He was working in the silence, turning pain into purpose. There will be a day, very soon, when joy will overtake you unexpectedly. It will come quietly at first, maybe a sudden warmth, a laugh you didn't plan, a peace that doesn't make sense. That will be the sign that the seed of your tears has broken through the soil. Joy has found its voice again, and it sounds like you. Do not despise your tears anymore. They are sacred testimonies of endurance, written not in ink but in water and faith. They were the cost of growth, and now they become the evidence of glory. The weeping season has served its purpose. The reaping season begins, and when joy arrives, it will not erase your pain, it will redeem it. Every tear will shine as proof that even in your breaking, heaven was building something beautiful. You can feel it, can't you? The air has started to hum again. Something deep within the walls of your spirit is vibrating with anticipation. Yet, before the miracle fully arrives, there is often a shaking. The shaking is not punishment, it is preparation. It's heaven rearranging the pieces that once felt stable so that divine order can finally take root. Don't be afraid of it. The shaking does not mean God has left, it means He's closer than ever. When the ground trembles, it's not to destroy your foundation, it's to expose the parts that were built on fear, doubt, or self-reliance. He shakes not to remove you, but to refine you. You are being positioned for what you prayed for. You may have noticed it already, relationships shifting, routines breaking, familiar patterns no longer fitting the new version of you that heaven is forming. That discomfort you feel isn't failure, it's transformation. You are molting like an eagle, shedding old feathers so it can rise higher. The letter to the Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 26, declares, "Yet once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens above." When God shakes, He does it with intention. He shakes the earth to dislodge false security and shakes the heavens to release new blessings. The tremor is not chaos, it is choreography. Everything is moving to make room for what belongs. Beloved, Don't confuse the shaking with abandonment. You are not falling apart, you are falling into alignment. When everything around you begins to shift, it means God's hand is rearranging the landscape. He is removing what cannot carry you forward. The conversations that ended abruptly, the doors that shut without warning, the plans that dissolved overnight, these were not accidents. They were divine edits. The Spirit is saying, "You've been holding on to what I've already outgrown in you. That's why it hurts, it's pruning. But pruning always precedes blooming. Every branch that yields fruit must be trimmed, not as punishment but as promise. What looks like loss is actually the trimming of excess so that new growth can flourish without hindrance." This is the paradox of heaven's preparation before glory, shaking before harvest, breaking before peace, reordering. You are standing in that in-between place right now, the tension between what was and what's coming. And though it may feel uncertain, this is the holiest ground of all. In the shaking worship, when the familiar crumbles, lift your hands instead of your complaints. Praise turns chaos into clarity. The shaking is temporary, but what it produces is eternal. You will come out stronger, clearer, lighter. You will see that the things that fell away were never meant to stay. Even creation understands this rhythm. The soil must be disturbed before seeds can sprout. The cocoon must break before the butterfly can fly. The storm must churn before calm can reign. So it is with your spirit. What feels like breaking is actually birthing. The heavens are aligning above you. Chosen one, your house, your heart, your very atmosphere are being recalibrated for the weight of glory that is about to rest upon them. What once held chaos will soon hold calm. What once echoed fear will soon sing peace. So, when the ground beneath you trembles, stand firm. Say within yourself, "This shaking is not my end, it's my beginning." Wow, that is how faith speaks, and that is how heaven recognizes its own. And now, as a prophetic act of faith and agreement, leave a short declaration below in the comments, "I still stand." Those 3 words are more than a sentence. They are a banner over your life. When you write, "I still stand," you are reminding every force that tried to bury you that you are still rooted in grace. You are declaring that though everything around you has shifted, your foundation remains unshaken because it is built on the rock. It's not just text on a screen, it's testimony in the Spirit. Heaven reads those words as worship, and the earth responds in alignment. Angels see it as permission to complete their assignment. And the shaking, it begins to calm, because the purpose of the shaking was to prove your stability. Beloved, hold fast. When the dust settles, you will see what remains, and it will be glorious. The shaking may roar for a night, but the dawn of glory will speak louder. There is a warmth beginning to rise through your home tonight, a holy fire, not one that consumes, but one that refines. It flickers in the unseen, stretching its glow across every room, touching the corners where you once felt forgotten. This is not ordinary fire. It is prophetic fire born of the Word, sustained by faith and kindled by obedience. It comes not to destroy, but to illuminate. In the old days, fire was a sign of acceptance. When Elijah prayed, fire fell. When the tabernacle was dedicated, fire consumed the altar. When the disciples waited in unity, fire appeared above their heads. And now, that same divine element burns within your home, not a visible flame, but the radiant presence of God's Spirit, awakening everything that had fallen asleep inside you. You can sense it, something is stirring in your chest, a spark of faith beginning to grow bold again. The words you speak tonight will carry weight. They will not fall flat. They will create. Heaven listens when you open your mouth, because your tongue has been anointed with authority. This is the power of prophetic fire. It transforms your speech from reaction to creation. The Word of God declares in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23, verse 29, "Is not my word like fire, declares the Lord, and like a hammer that breaks rock in pieces?" That is what is happening right now. Every hardened area of your life, the walls of doubt, the stones of resistance, the mountains of impossibility are being shattered by the fire-filled word. You have spoken in faith before, but tonight, those words carry a different weight. They are charged with fresh power because your house has been consecrated as holy ground. Imagine this fire as light spilling through stained glass, each color representing a different promise. One pane glows with healing, another with provision, another with peace. As the fire burns, the light dances across your walls, painting your atmosphere with hope. What once looked dull now shines with meaning. That's what the presence of God does. It turns your home into a canvas of glory. And in this moment, let your words match that light. Speak what you long to see, not what you fear might happen. Say, "Peace lives here. Healing breathes here. Restoration rises here." Each sentence becomes a spark that heaven catches and multiplies. Beloved, this fire is also a test. Like gold in a furnace, your heart is being purified, not punished. Every false attachment, every weight you were never meant to carry is being burned away so that what remains is pure, solid, radiant. You are being refined into someone who can handle greater glory without breaking under it. It's not destruction, it's preparation. The fire is not against you, it's for you. Just as iron must face heat before it becomes unbreakable, your spirit must pass through refinement to carry its next assignment. What you're experiencing now is heaven strengthening you for the blessings that would have crushed a lesser version of you. And as this sacred fire burns brighter, it is not meant to stay contained within your walls. Fire spreads. That's its nature. You were never meant to keep this glow to yourself, just as one candle can light another without losing its own flame. Your testimony can ignite faith in someone else's darkness. If this message has lit something inside you, if the warmth you feel is not emotion but revelation, then let it move through you. Help the flame reach others who still sit in cold rooms of despair. Like, share, or subscribe not as a habit but as a holy act of agreement. When you share light, heaven multiplies it. And if your heart feels stirred to give, to sow a seed, do it not out of obligation but out of recognition. Every ember of this ministry continues to burn because hearts like yours breathe life into it. Your offering becomes oil that keeps the flame alive, fuel that allows these words to reach homes across the world. Homes waiting for their own fire to fall. Think of it as adding another log to the sacred fire. The more we feed it, the farther its light reaches. Each act of support, every click, every share, every gift is another beam of warmth sent into someone's night. The fire that burns in your home tonight is not a solitary flame. It is part of a greater blaze spreading across chosen hearts everywhere. Together, we form a constellation of light, small sparks uniting into something magnificent, unstoppable, eternal. So let the fire burn freely, chosen one. Let it purify what needs refining and ignite what needs awakening. The light shining through your window tonight is not just from the moon, it's heaven's confirmation that the word is alive within you. The air around you has grown still but not empty. It is the stillness that comes before release, like the calm that settles before a door swings open. You have walked through the fire, endured the shaking, and now the next part of heaven's plan unfolds, the doorway of deliverance. It has been here all along, waiting quietly at the edge of your obedience, hidden behind surrender. And now, it begins to open. Deliverance is not just the removal of chains. It is the unveiling of paths once hidden. When God delivers, He does not simply pull you out, He pulls you through. There is a difference. Deliverance means passage, movement, breakthrough. It is God saying, "You will not remain where pain found you." For many seasons, you've been circling the same walls, habits, fears, memories, delays. You have prayed, "Lord, open the way," not realizing that the gate was already built into your story. You just couldn't see it until now. Divine timing has reached its appointed hour, and the hinges of heaven are turning. As Jesus declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 9, "I am the door. Whoever enters through me will be saved." He does not merely provide doors, He becomes them. He is the living threshold, the intersection between bondage and freedom, despair and peace, silence and song. When you walk through Him, you walk into deliverance that cannot be reversed. Beloved, take a moment to picture it. A door made of light stands before you. Behind it lie the things you've prayed for but could not reach, the peace that felt distant, the healing that seemed delayed, the freedom that always looked just out of grasp. The handle glows faintly, waiting for your hand. Heaven will not force it open. Your faith must. Deliverance begins with a choice to trust that what lies beyond the door is better than what you're leaving behind. That is where many falter. We pray for freedom but cling to the familiar. We ask for new beginnings but refuse to release the old endings. Yet tonight, grace gives you courage to step through. The past has nothing left to teach you that the Spirit cannot now reveal in peace. There is a strange beauty in the moment before crossing over. You can still feel the breath of what you are leaving, yet you already sense the fragrance of what is coming. The threshold is narrow because it demands focus. Your eyes cannot look back while your feet move forward. That is why deliverance is both miracle and decision. God opens the door, but you must walk. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, deliverance looked impossible. Waves roared before them, soldiers pressed behind them. And yet a command came: move forward. When they obeyed, the impossible yielded. The waters parted not for their strength, but for their faith. That same command whispers through your spirit now. Move forward, even if it's one trembling step at a time. You don't need to see the entire path, just enough light for the next step. The rest unfolds as you move. Deliverance is often discovered in motion. As you cross this spiritual doorway, something sacred happens. The sounds of your old season begin to fade, the echo of fear, the voice of shame, the rhythm of anxiety. They cannot follow you where you're going because they were never authorized beyond this threshold. The moment you step through, heaven seals the door behind you. What was chasing you loses its footing in the new atmosphere. You may not feel an explosion of change all at once. Sometimes deliverance arrives gently, like dawn slowly displacing the night. You begin to notice that certain things no longer hold power over you. Old habits lose their grip, memories lose their sting, and peace feels more natural than panic. That's how you know the crossing was real. Deliverance also changes the sound inside your home. The atmosphere that once held heaviness now hums with freedom. You'll sense it in your prayers. They'll rise faster, lighter, less burdened. You'll hear it in your voice when you speak. There will be a steadiness, a tone that carries quiet authority. That's the sound of someone who has walked through divine gates. And though no one else may fully understand what has shifted, you will know. Every step from now on carries a new echo. You are walking as one delivered, light in stride, peace in posture, authority in presence. The doorway of deliverance stands open behind you now, and ahead lies spacious ground. Freedom does not mean the absence of challenge. It means the presence of grace strong enough to overcome anything ahead. Rest, chosen one. You have crossed over, the threshold has closed behind you, and nothing from the old season can follow. You are free utterly, irreversibly free. Something sacred happens after deliverance. The air feels clearer, lighter, quieter. There's a silence that doesn't weigh heavy but hums with peace. The kind that tells you something new has begun. It's not only your house that has changed, it's your covenant. God, in His faithfulness, is renewing promises that seemed forgotten. You are not stepping into something new, you are stepping back into something eternal. You see, every covenant God makes is alive. It cannot expire, only await rediscovery. Long before you prayed your first prayer, before you called His name through trembling lips, heaven had already signed your name into its scroll of promise. Every promise God ever spoke still breathes, waiting for your heart to awaken and receive. For years, you may have felt disconnected from destiny. Oh no, you've said, maybe I missed it. Maybe I broke the promise. But the Spirit whispers tonight, you didn't break it, you just forgot it for a while, but I never did. As written in the book of Psalms, chapter 89, verse 34. My covenant I will not break, nor alter the word that has gone out of my lips. These are not poetic words, they are divine legal declarations. Heaven's contracts are not written in ink, they are sealed in blood. Once spoken, they cannot be revoked. Even when you walked through seasons of doubt, the covenant stood waiting like a lighthouse, steady, unmoved, shining through your storms. Now, chosen one, the Lord revisits your house to reaffirm that bond. This is a covenant renewal night, not a ceremony of words, but a transfer of power. The same presence that marked your door now renews the agreement between heaven and your bloodline. It means promises delayed are not denied, they are reactivated. It means blessings you thought skipped your generation are now finding their way home. You may feel an inexplicable stillness right now, as if the room itself is listening. That is because heaven is recording this moment. Angels stand as witnesses while God whispers again the promises He made to your ancestors, those who prayed, believed, but never saw. You will see. You will carry what they hoped for. You are the continuation of faith that refuses to die. This covenant renewal is not about perfection, it's about alignment. God is not asking you to fix yourself. He's asking you to stay connected. The covenant covers weakness. It thrives on humility. Every time you say, Lord, I still choose you, the agreement strengthens, the bond deepens. You might feel memories stirring moments of disappointment, broken trust, or the times you thought God had turned away. Those were not ends, they were recalibrations. He was adjusting your path so that His promises would meet you at the right moment. Not too early, not too late. He was protecting your covenant from being mishandled by the wrong people, the wrong timing, or even your own weariness. This renewal also means divine inheritance is awakening. Promises that skipped a generation because of disbelief or disobedience are circling back. You will receive blessings your grandparents prayed for, breakthroughs your parents never saw, peace your family longed for. The Lord is restoring what lineage once lost. The covenant has found a new steward. You close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it, a gentle heaviness of presence, like warm rain settling on your spirit? That's the weight of the promise being reattached to you. Heaven is re-signing the contract, but this time, you are conscious of it. You're not wandering into favor, you're stepping intentionally into it. Beloved, every covenant has a sound. It's the sound of yes. Heaven speaks yes, and your spirit must echo it. Say it quietly if you must, but say it with faith, yes. Lord, I receive again what is mine. That single agreement opens floodgates that have been sealed for years. And with this renewal, provision begins to move again. Resources that were delayed begin to flow. Wisdom that once felt distant becomes clear. Strength that you thought was gone rises suddenly like dawn. Everything tied to the covenant begins to align: health, peace, relationships, purpose. It's as if heaven whispers to each area of your life. Return to the promise. Do not think small. God's covenants are never partial, they are generational. He doesn't renew them to bless one room in your house. He renews them to bless every soul that walks through your door. From you, it will flow outward. The oil that touched your spirit tonight will touch your family, your friends, and the lives of those connected to your destiny. The Lord wants you to know this covenant does not depend on your perfection, but on His permanence. You will make mistakes. He will not change His mind. You may stumble. He will not withdraw His promise. This is not a contract of performance, it is a bond of love. And to mark this sacred moment, take one symbolic act of agreement. In the comments, write the prophetic number 555. That number represents grace multiplied, covenant renewed, and transformation completed. When you write 555, you're not typing digits, you are making declaration: I receive my renewal. I align again with divine promise. My covenant stands. Heaven recognizes that number as a signature of faith, the spiritual yes that seals what has been spoken tonight. You are not standing under an old word, you are walking beneath a living one. From this moment on, you will notice a difference. Your prayers will carry more authority, your words will carry more peace, and your steps will carry purpose. Because when the covenant is renewed, everything about you begins to remember who you are. Beloved, take a breath and rest. The ink of heaven has touched your name again, and it will not fade. The night feels different now, quieter, steadier, almost reverent. You can sense that something unseen has settled over your home, not as a visitor, but as a guardian. There's a weight of peace resting at the edges of every doorway, as if invisible sentinels have taken their places. Heaven has stationed its protectors around your threshold, and they are not temporary. They have come to stay. These are not mere symbols or poetic images. They are the reality of divine guardianship. God has placed His watchmen over your home, over your sleep, over your coming and your going. What once felt exposed now feels enclosed by presence. You may not hear wings, but you will sense peace that doesn't move. It is the kind that cannot be explained, only experienced. In the days of ancient Israel, homes marked by divine covering were never left unguarded. Angels stood at their gates, not to frighten, but to fortify. They carried the authority of the one who sent them. So it is with you now. Where anxiety once paced outside, angels stand at attention. Where fear once crept in through the cracks, light now spills through. You are surrounded, protected, kept. The psalmist wrote these immortal words in Psalm chapter 34, verse 7. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear Him, and He delivers them. That word encamps is powerful. It means they don't merely pass by, they dwell. They build spiritual encampments around those who belong to the covenant. Your home is now part of heaven's defense perimeter. There are sentries at the doorway, guardians at the gate, watchmen upon invisible walls. You are covered on all sides. Sometimes you'll feel their presence not as sight or sound, but as calm a stillness that settles suddenly when worry tries to rise. Sometimes it's the inexplicable peace that meets you in the middle of chaos. Sometimes it's the way you sense danger but are gently rerouted before harm can come near. These are not coincidences, they are interventions. God's protection is rarely loud. It doesn't demand attention, it simply exists, constant as the air you breathe. You don't notice air until it's gone, and you won't notice how many battles were fought for you until heaven shows you one day how many arrows never reached your heart. There is a sacred mystery to angelic presence. They are both fierce and gentle, mighty and tender. They war against darkness, yet whisper comfort when you sleep. They guard your family when you travel, shield your mind when confusion approaches, and surround your dwelling when night falls heavy. Sometimes protection looks like prevention, you never see what almost happened. Sometimes it looks like strength, you rise from what should have broken you. Either way, the outcome is the same: deliverance. You are still here, still standing, still breathing, proof that God has assigned guardians to your destiny. Beloved, if you could glimpse the spirit realm for a moment, you would weep, not from fear but from awe. You would see your home glowing like a fortress of light in a valley of shadows. You would see warriors of fire standing shoulder to shoulder, their gaze unflinching, their swords drawn not in panic but in readiness. You would see heaven's army treating your ordinary home like sacred territory. That is what it has become, sacred territory. The presence of God has declared it holy ground. Evil cannot trespass where holiness resides. The atmosphere has changed permanently. Every entrance, every exit, every threshold now bears the signature of divine ownership. This is not only about physical safety but also spiritual protection. The guardians at your gate defend more than your body, they defend your peace, your calling, your faith. They ensure that distractions sent to derail you cannot penetrate your focus. They silence whispers of doubt before they take root. They intercept fear before it finds words. Even as you sleep, they remain awake. Heaven never slumbers. When your eyes close, watchful eyes remain open over you. When you wake, peace greets you not as coincidence, but as continuity. The same protection that watched the night follows you into the morning. This is why you have survived storms that others could not. This is why the arrows of criticism, rejection, or betrayal wounded but did not destroy you. There was always a barrier unseen, a covering that absorbed what was meant for your heart. God's mercy wrapped itself around your vulnerability and refused to let darkness break through. Remember this truth: protection does not always mean the absence of battle. It means the assurance of victory. The enemy may attempt to approach, but every plan fails before it fully forms. You are too covered, too surrounded, too chosen to be overtaken. And in this calm that now fills your home, let gratitude be your language. Whisper thanks for what you will never fully know: the disasters avoided, the traps dismantled, the dangers disarmed. Gratitude strengthens the covering, not because God demands payment, but because thanksgiving keeps your spirit aligned with faith. So tonight, rest easy. Your house is not empty, it is watched. Your sleep will not be stolen, it will be shielded. You are encamped by the presence that neither fades nor fails. You are kept, guarded, and seen. There is a fragrance in the atmosphere tonight, soft, sweet, unmistakable. It is not perfume or incense, it is the scent of abundance, the aroma of heaven's overflow filling your home. You can sense it in the small details, the calm of your thoughts, the ease returning to your spirit, the quiet sense that things are aligning without your striving. This is the oil of overflow, the tangible result of every prayer, every act of faith, every tear that became a seed. Overflow does not arrive with noise, it arrives with assurance. It is the still confidence that God has not only answered, but exceeded. It is the recognition that what once felt scarce now flows freely. For so long you have lived in just enough strength to get through, just enough peace to rest, just enough provision to survive. But tonight, heaven whispers, no more just enough. You have stepped into the season of more than enough. The psalmist wrote in Psalm chapter 23, verse 5, "You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows." That single verse carries a universe of meaning. When David spoke those words, when he was describing a table set not in luxury but in presence. The overflow came not from abundance of things, but from abundance of relationship. The oil was not simply provision, it was identity. The overflowing cup was not wealth, it was recognition. I belong to the shepherd. That same anointing has now touched your life. The oil has found you. It flows through the cracks of your history, soaking every dry place, healing every barren memory. The oil of heaven is never wasted. It finds what has been broken and fills it until it overflows. You might not yet see the full evidence in material form, but you can feel it in the atmosphere. The heaviness that once clung to your days has lifted. Things that used to drain your spirit no longer have power. Peace feels natural again. Gratitude comes easier. These are all signs that the overflow has begun. The oil flows in stages. First, it soothes. Then, it strengthens. Finally, it spreads. It begins within you before it ever touches your surroundings. The Spirit fills your heart first. Overflow begins inside. Then it spills outward into your words, your actions, your relationships, your work, your finances, your family. It is impossible to contain divine abundance. It is designed to spill. When heaven anoints, it never measures sparingly. The oil poured upon your life tonight is not a drizzle, it's a river. It is enough to cover everything you are connected to. You have prayed for survival, but God is giving you revival. You have asked for restoration, but He is releasing multiplication. This is not a temporary blessing. It is the start of sustained flow. Consider how oil works. It reduces friction. It allows motion to become smooth. So too will the coming days begin to glide rather than grind. Where there was resistance, there will be ease. Where there was delay, there will be acceleration. This is what it means to live in overflow, not that you never face challenges, but that nothing can stop your progress. And just as oil carries fragrance, your life will now carry evidence. People will notice peace around you, even when they don't understand it. They will see favor following you and wonder why doors open easily in your path. It is because the oil speaks on your behalf. The anointing announces you before you arrive. This abundance is not only meant for comfort, it is meant for purpose. Overflow always comes with responsibility to pour into others. You are not being blessed to boast, you are being blessed to build. Every drop that spills from your cup is an invitation to heal someone else's drought. The generosity you extend will not empty you. It will expand you. The more you pour, the more heaven refills, beloved. Your home is now a vessel of this oil. Every conversation that happens within these walls will carry traces of grace. Every plan you make will have divine fingerprints on it. Even your rest will be productive because it will take place under the covering of abundance. The season of striving has ended. You are stepping into the rhythm of grace, a pace that flows, not forces. You will look back on this time and realize that the greatest change was not in your circumstances, but in your capacity. God has enlarged your spirit to hold more light, more peace, more promise. And as this oil continues to move, it will seek out those you love. It will travel through prayer to reach distant family, friends, even strangers who cross your path. This is the nature of divine abundance. It cannot stay confined to one vessel. The same overflow that fills your cup will begin to fill others until entire households, communities, and nations feel the ripple. So rest, chosen one. You don't have to chase what's already flowing toward you. Simply remain open, keep your vessel clean, keep your gratitude alive. The shepherd has not only led you to still waters, he has poured his oil upon you until your cup refuses to stop running over. There comes a moment in every chosen life when heaven stops simply visiting and begins commissioning. You've walked through fire, endured shaking, passed through the doorway of deliverance, and been covered by oil. Now, the Spirit turns toward you with purpose in his eyes. This is not the quiet phase of healing anymore, it is the call to rise. The mantle that has been hovering over your life is ready to rest upon your shoulders. You are being called to stand as the torchbearer of your family. It is not pride that places the torch in your hand, it is responsibility. There are generations behind you that prayed for what you now carry. Their unfinished prayers have become your assignment. You are the living answer to their petitions. The lineage that once stumbled in darkness will now walk in your light. Heaven trusts you with what others abandoned because you endured when they gave up. Jesus said in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." You are that light. You are that city. You were never meant to blend in, you were meant to blaze. Your home, your words, your choices, they are lamps lit by the breath of God. And tonight, that flame burns higher, not only for you, but for everyone connected to your name. The torch you carry is not made of wood and wax, but of testimony and truth. Every hardship you've overcome becomes fuel for the fire. Every tear you've shed becomes oil for the lamp. Every prayer you've whispered becomes wind that keeps the flame alive. What the enemy meant for exhaustion, God has turned into ignition. Beloved, you may think, I'm not strong enough to lead. But leadership in heaven's eyes is not about perfection. It's about willingness. The torchbearer does not always see the whole path. They just carry enough light for others to take their next step. Your courage is illumination for someone else's confusion. Your faith is a map for those who have lost their way. Think of your family as a field at night. For years it has lain under shadow, dreams buried, hopes forgotten, hearts hardened by disappointment. But tonight, you walk through that field carrying the torch of grace. The light you bring doesn't only expose, it awakens. It reveals the seeds still alive beneath the soil. As you move forward, warmth follows, and soon sprouts of faith begin to rise in unexpected places. That is your calling, to be warmth in cold spaces, to be clarity in confusion, to be steadfast when others waver. The torch you hold burns with heaven's endurance. It will not be extinguished by criticism or fatigue because it was lit by divine breath. You were not chosen to flicker. You were chosen to blaze steadily until generations ahead no longer stumble in the dark. And as you stand in this moment of awakening, know that the light within you grows stronger when it's shared. Fire was never meant to be hidden under glass, it spreads by contact. If this message has stirred something in you, if it feels as though the words mirror what your soul has been hearing in whispers, then let your light extend. Share this message, not as promotion but as prophecy. When you share it, you are holding your torch higher, signaling others who are still wandering, there is light here. A simple like or comment is more than digital reaction. It's agreement in the spirit. It's saying, I carry the flame too. And for those who feel led, know that giving, whether through prayer, encouragement, or donation, is also a way of carrying light. Every act of support is like another spark sent into the night. It keeps this flame burning not just for you, but for countless others still searching for warmth. When you sow, you don't just maintain the fire, you expand its reach. Think of this moment as standing before a vast horizon. The darkness ahead is not a threat. It's a canvas waiting for your light to paint it gold. What you have endured has equipped you for this exact purpose, to lead your family, your circle, your lineage out of fear and into faith. So, lift the torch higher. Let it reflect in your eyes. Let it shine through your actions. Let it burn in your prayers. You are not walking alone. Heaven walks beside you, and behind you trails a line of hearts reigniting because of your obedience. And as you close this section, leave a simple comment below, just a few words, but make them yours. It might be "The flame lives," or "I rise for my family." Let it be your declaration, your mark that says, "I accept my torch." Morning is coming. You can almost feel the light stretching across the horizon, pressing gently against the last shadows of night. It is the kind of dawn that doesn't just brighten the sky, it transforms it. The air holds a softness, a promise. Everything around you seems to exhale at once, as if creation itself has been waiting for this moment, the morning after glory. You have walked through so many midnights, so many seasons where dawn felt delayed. But here it is, chosen one, the evidence of everything heaven promised. The miracle didn't shout its arrival. It unfolded quietly in the dark, where faith alone could see. And now, as the sun rises, the invisible becomes visible. This light does not come from the world outside your window, it shines from within. The glow you feel in your spirit is not mere relief, it is resurrection. The same power that rolled away the stone at Christ's tomb is rolling away the remnants of your sorrow. What once felt final now feels fertile. What once was pain now becomes purpose. We are reminded by the prophet in the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 23. His mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness, O Lord, forever sure. Those words are not just comfort, they are confirmation. Every morning, heaven renews its commitment to your life. Each sunrise is God's signature across the sky, saying, "I have not changed my mind about you." Look around your home. The stillness you sense is not emptiness, it's fulfillment. Peace has taken residence where anxiety once lived. There's a weight of calm that wasn't there before. This is what it feels like when God finishes what He starts. The morning after glory is gentle. It doesn't rush. It restores. It moves through your rooms like golden breath, touching the walls, the chairs, the floor. It brushes over memories, transforming them from wounds into testimonies. The very places where you once wept now feel warm, alive, almost sacred. You realize that your home isn't just cleaner, it's clearer. The clutter in the spirit has been swept away, and the air hums with grace. You might notice simple things first. Sleep feels deeper. Food tastes sweeter. Laughter comes easier. It's as if the world has been repainted overnight, and colors seem more vivid than before. That's what happens when your eyes have adjusted from pain to promise. Beloved, this is what the aftermath of divine visitation looks like. It isn't chaos, it's clarity. When the glory of God settles after the storm, everything becomes ordered, balanced, still. Your heart beats in rhythm with peace. Your thoughts align with purpose. You walk, breathe, and move differently, not striving, just flowing. Do you see how seamlessly heaven works? You didn't have to force this transformation, you simply allowed it. The miracle did not come because of how loudly you prayed, but because of how deeply you believed. Even in your silence, God was moving. Even when you felt nothing, His hand was still upon you. Morning glory also brings revelation. You will begin to understand things that once confused you. The pain that made no sense will suddenly reveal its purpose. You'll see how every delay was timing, how every detour was direction, how every tear was irrigation for the harvest you now stand in. You'll whisper, "Now I understand," not in bitterness, but in awe. You will also feel gratitude rising, not the fragile kind that depends on outcomes, but the steady kind that comes from recognition. You'll thank God not just for what He gave, but for what He withheld. You'll realize that some prayers were mercy in disguise, that protection sometimes looks like delay, and that every no was leading you toward a better yes. Morning glory is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of peace. It's the moment when striving ceases and stewardship begins. You are now the keeper of what heaven has built within you. The miracle is not meant to fade, it is meant to be nurtured. So, let peace remain your rhythm. Let gratitude be your language. Let joy become your posture. The light that fills your home will follow you into every place you go. When people meet you, they will sense the calm that cannot be faked, the quiet confidence that says, "I've met God in the night, and now I carry His morning." Take this in, chosen one. The storm has passed, the battle is won, and the morning has arrived. The glory does not fade with daylight, it transforms into gentle constancy, a reminder that heaven's promise is both eternal and present. You will not wake to worry anymore. You will wake to wonder. Every morning that follows this one will carry traces of this peace, the residue of glory that has made its home in you. The night has completed its work, and the dawn has matured into day. Sunlight now rests on your walls as if heaven itself has leaned down to admire what has been transformed. This is the aftermath of divine encounter, the still beauty that follows holy fire. Your home no longer merely shelters you. It bears witness to what happens when God marks a place. You are not who you were when this began. You carry the scent of miracles, the calm of answered prayer, the quiet strength of one who has stood face to face with purpose. Look around. Even the ordinary feels new. The familiar chair where you once wept now radiates warmth, as though every tear has been exchanged for oil. The floorboards seem to hum softly beneath your steps, remembering the weight of worship that has filled this space. Everything around you testifies something eternal passed through here and decided to remain. Your home has become more than a location, it has become an altar, a memorial of mercy. Every room now tells a story of deliverance, of protection, of promise. The shadows that once lingered in the corners have dissolved into light. The air carries peace instead of worry. You no longer feel like you are defending your space. You feel like you are dwelling in sanctuary. The apostles' ancient words echo through time to affirm this truth, spoken in the book of Galatians chapter 6, verse 17. From now on, let no one cause me trouble, for I bear on my body the marks of Jesus. Those marks are not only upon your body, they are upon your home, upon your atmosphere, upon the story of your life. You are branded by grace, sealed by promise, and covered by glory. Heaven recognizes you now by that mark. The spiritual realm no longer sees your address as a battleground. It sees it as territory claimed by the kingdom. The miracle that began as a whisper has now become a reality written across every detail of your existence. This is what it means to be marked forever, not a temporary blessing, but a permanent transformation. You can feel it in your speech, in the rhythm of your thoughts, in the way peace lingers even when challenges appear. You have changed because your foundation has changed. The ground beneath you has been redefined by presence. You will still walk through seasons, sunshine and rain alike, but never again will you walk without awareness. The difference now is not the absence of storms, but the presence of certainty. You know where your refuge is. You know who guards your home. You know who carries your name in his heart. Chosen one. The mark you carry is not visible ink, it is living light. It glows in the spirit when you pray, when you forgive, and when you choose love instead of retaliation. It burns brighter each time you choose obedience over fear. It tells both heaven and hell that your allegiance is sealed. No curse, no scheme, no shadow can erase it. The mark also attracts blessing. It draws the right people, opportunities, and alignments into your orbit. Favor now recognizes you by spiritual signature. Doors open not because of who you know, but because of who knows you. The Father's hand rests upon your life like a signature of ownership, declaring, "This one is mine." When others step into your home, they will feel it too, even if they cannot explain it. They will pause at the door and feel peace washing over them. Some will weep without knowing why. Others will smile without reason. It is the tangible atmosphere of divine residence. You won't have to preach. Your home itself will speak. It will say, "God lives here." And as you live each day beneath that reality, you'll begin to understand that being marked forever is not just protection, it is purpose. You have become a carrier of presence, a living tabernacle moving through the world. Wherever you go, the mark goes with you. When you speak, heaven recognizes its own tone in your words. When you act with compassion, angels see the echo of their king in your gestures. This mark is also a mirror. It reminds you who you are when the world tries to make you forget. On hard days, when doubt whispers again, you will remember this moment, this message, this transformation. You'll remember the nights when you almost gave up, the mornings when you felt unseen, and how God turned your home into a holy encounter. You'll breathe, and something inside you will say, "I am still chosen." That awareness is your inheritance. It will guide your decisions, guard your heart, and govern your days. You are no longer living by chance, you are walking by calling. Every step is sacred now because every step leaves a footprint of glory. So as this final light fills your home, stand still for a moment. Let gratitude rise quietly, like incense. Whisper thanks for the journey, the pain that purified, the shaking that refined, the tears that became oil, the silence that became song. Each chapter was necessary. Each moment shaped you into one who could carry this weight of wonder without crumbling under it. The world outside continues as usual. Traffic hums, clocks tick, voices pass, but you know something they do not. Your house is holy ground. Your life is proof of divine attention, and your future has already been spoken for. You are marked forever, chosen not only to receive light, but to become it. And when night falls again in days to come, you will not fear it. You will remember this first miracle night and smile. Because now you know the same God who marked your home with glory will keep it lit. No matter how dark the world around it become, you are marked forever, chosen eternally, and watched continually. Your home glows in heaven's sight, a dwelling of peace, a beacon of mercy, a resting place of miracles. And now, beloved chosen one, as this message comes to rest, let gratitude flow through you like quiet music. You have journeyed through revelation, through fire and peace, through promise and fulfillment, and heaven has written your name across it all. Your home stands marked, your heart shines bright, your destiny hums with divine rhythm. This is not the end, it is the continuation of light. If these words have stirred something deep within you, if they've reminded you of who you are and whose you are, then let that truth travel further. Tap like. Share this message so that another soul may find the same hope you found tonight. Leave a short comment below, perhaps a single phrase of gratitude or a declaration of faith, because your voice adds to the sound of heaven echoing across the earth. And if you haven't already, subscribe and stay connected, not to a page, but to a movement of presence and purpose. Every click, every share, every word of encouragement keeps this fire burning and sends its warmth into other waiting homes. Carry this peace forward, chosen one. The story continues through you.